Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my vlogs. In this vlog, I want to talk just a little bit about miscommunication. Miscommunication and misunderstandings. I release a lot of content on this channel, on YouTube, but also for the podcast as well. I release a lot of content, and it never really surprises me that even with all of that content that I drop, that people will sometimes misunderstand the things that I say and the things that I talk about. I mean, miscommunication is just fundamental. It's fundamental to human nature, right? There's reasons why, crisis management organizations exist. There's reasons why School of C's exist, right? Because they are trying to help people to be better and more effective communicators. There's a reason why, management consultants exist, right? That help with team dynamic and team dysfunction. And they talk about the 5 dysfunctions of a team, right? Because oftentimes there is miscommunication. Even when people are looking one another in the face, having a conversation, people filter what is being said by whatever they've experienced previously, either with that person or just in life, right? We tend to, as humans, filter things and to hear things the way that we are interpreting them, not necessarily how they are said. And so even with all the content that I release, even with the fact that I believe that I'm an effective communicator, people misunderstand me. And I want to talk just about that for just a little bit. And this really dovetails with some things that I spoke about before, where I was accused of having rose-colored glasses. Rose-colored glasses. If you haven't listened to that video, I definitely want to encourage you to go back and check that one out. But that notion persists, right? Because people assume that because I choose to be positive, because I wear rose-colored glasses, that I am thus naive. And I can tell you for a fact that there couldn't be anything more further from the truth. I am not a naive individual, not in any way, shape, or form. Not in any way, shape, or form am I naive. I see all too clear what is happening in the comic book market and in the comic book community. I see all too well what is actually happening. The difference for me is that I see those things, those negative things, and I choose not to focus on those negative things. That is a choice that I make. It is a choice that I make every time I turn on my microphone to record something, every time I turn on a video camera to feature my face. Anytime I'm interacting with someone, I make a choice to not focus on the negative. And you might ask, why? Why do I do that? I do it because it's easy to be negative. It is easy to throw stones. It is easy to point out all of the bad that exists. That's easy. And a lot of people do it. You can turn on YouTube channels all day long and see and hear that. Personally, I have enough going on in my life. I'm going to be honest with you. I have enough going on in my life that is hard. And I don't want to fill my time with additional negative energy, because that's draining. It is draining to be bombarded with negativity. There's a reason why people actually don't watch the news. And it's not because they don't want to be informed. It's because so much of what the news focuses on is just the negative. But the opposite, right? To focus on the positive allows people to basically say you are naive, when that could not be further from the truth. I focus on the positive. I focus on the fact that the glass is half full, because that's needed. It's needed. It's easy to focus on the fact of, what is negative that is happening in the comic book market, but it takes a little bit of energy, takes a little bit of effort to see the positive in what is actually happening out there. And I choose to focus on those positive things and to bring positivity to people that want that. I choose to be contrarian, not for the sake of being contrarian, but to offer people a different perspective and a different point of view, because it's very easy to look at a situation and see it one way. It is very easy to look at a bad situation and see only the negative that comes out of that. It takes a little bit of effort, and it takes maybe someone saying, hey, well, maybe it's not all that bad, for someone to actually see the good that comes out of even the bad. And that's the role that I have opted to take on. I offer via this channel things for you to consider, things for you to think about. And it's not to say put on your blinders and just do exactly what I say. That's never my thing. My thing is to say, hey, here is an alternative point of view to a situation, or here's a alternative theory for you to consider. Think about it. Take it all in and decide for yourself how you want to interpret what is being seen. But people sometimes look at what I say and hear what I say and think that I'm naive, when that is just not true. I am making a conscious decision to look at the glass as being half full. I am choosing to be positive. I look at the exact same facts that other people do. I see the cracks and the flaws. I see the things that Marvel and DC could do better. I see what is happening with third-party grading, for example. I see what is happening with the movies in terms of the impact that movies can actually have on comics. I see it all. And what I try to do is to look at it from a different vantage point, instead of just the negative. Because again, that's easy. It's easy to see the negative. It takes a little bit of effort, takes a little bit of focus to see the positive that can come out of the bad. And I do this because I want this hobby to survive. I want comics to be around for my children in paper format. I want LCSs to survive. I want Marvel and DC and Image and Top Cow and Ablaze Studios, IDW, Valiant. I want all of these comic book publishers to survive. None of them are perfect. None of them are perfect, not even close. But I want them to survive. And it's very easy to stand on the sidelines, if you will, as a collector, as someone that creates content. It's very easy to stand on the sidelines and say, oh, that is bad. We are headed down a dark path. Things are bad. It is just awful out there. This hobby is falling apart. It's easy to stand on the sidelines and to do those things. It's another thing to actually be in the game and to try to affect positive change. If you stand on the sidelines and you say it is all bad, it's all falling apart, sooner or later it will actually fall apart, and then you can say, I told you so. Maybe that's what people are attempting to do. I don't know. I don't know if that's what they're trying to do, is to stand on the sidelines and say things are falling apart, things are just awful, and then that way they can actually be right. Because if you beat the drum long enough, sooner or later, there will be a song that is made. If you beat the drum. But here's the thing. If you stand on the sidelines and you beat that drum of negativity, at what point do you actually become a contributing factor to the downfall? If you're out there saying it is all bad, it is woe is me, you are influencing people to believe that. You are influencing people to that point of view. And sooner or later, people will start to believe it because they're getting inundated with the negative, and they start to believe that things are bad, things are awful, things are falling apart. And then they stop buying comics. They stop going to local comic shops because they think that it's all bad, that it's going to crash down because they've been influenced by people. And then they in turn influence other people. And before you know it, what happens? It all falls apart, and then everyone says, I told you so. I want comics to survive. I want local comic shops to survive. I want comics to be here in physical format for my children to be able to enjoy. And I focus on the positive because I want to influence people with some positive energy. I want people to see the positive that can sometimes come out of the negative. Question becomes, What are you going to focus on? How are you going to influence people? If you have a platform to speak, what are you going to speak about? What are you going to focus on? Do you want comics to survive? That's the question. What do you want? What do you want out of it? And if there's something that you want out of it that is positive, you might want to consider focusing on the positive instead of the negative. I don't know, just a thought. I look forward to reading your comments in the comment section on this vlog. I definitely want to mix it up with you guys to understand your points of view, right? Because that's what this is. It's about understanding someone else's point of view, even if that point of view differs from yours. even if it differs from yours. But if you guys enjoyed this vlog, I definitely want to encourage you to give it a thumbs up. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so. RegieCollects on Instagram or RegieCollects@gmail.com. Be positive. Take care.